Hey there. I think many of you know that for the past number of years, I have been dating, doing online dating sites, quite a variety of different ones. And to various degrees, I've been ghosted or there's catfishing. These are people who are just fake. I think I have spent hours and hours texting AI bots, dating bots. Not quite sure, but it certainly seems like it to me. Some of the responses just don't make sense, like it's a human being speaking back, or who knows? It could be language difficulties. But um, I drive a really high class automobile. I have a 1995 Camry station wagon that I just love. Now, some people might think that this is, if you're going to be out dating, it's kind of like real estate or any other business. You should be driving like a BMW, a Mercedes, a Maserati, something like very high end, something new, something looking beautiful, something that is just pristine on the inside. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think that creates a very strong initial impression. On the other hand, I don't have that kind of money to spend. I just don't. And so the car that I have is so practical. It has a sunroof and it opens and closes. It's dry inside. Um, it's a station wagon. I can haul just about anything in it. And okay, it's got some wear and tear. It's got 337,000 miles on it, which I have only put on the one since 250,000 over the last several years. But so this car has it's put in it's kind of like me, after a few decades of life, you start to show a little wear and tear. You've had a lot of experience, very interesting stories, etc. So today, okay, so over the last week or so, when I would go out and start the car, there have been times where it would just go, nothing would happen. The lights would come on, the radio would come on, but it just wouldn't turn over. And over the years, I've learned for a variety of cars that if you have had the car, for one thing, if it's not in park, it won't start. If you put it in park and the steering wheel locks, then you have to like undo the steering wheel and unlock that, because that can create problems. Also, there's something about the transmission locking up, and so at times I would have to like open the door, put my whole back and shoulders into it, my feet down on the ground, one of them on the ground, and push back and forth, sort of rock the car back and forth. And that would somehow disengage the starter cog from the flywheel, and then it would start. So I've learned that over the years. So I've tried all my different little tricks, and that wasn't working. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, lately, because there's been so much rain, and I primarily commute during the morning and the evening hours when it's dark. So I have my lights on, I have the radio on, maybe I have the heater on. Maybe lately, because of all the rain and the beautiful rainbows I've taken pictures of, because of all this rain, the wipers are on also. So that's a lot of draw on the battery. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's a problem with the battery, and so over 4 or 5 days, I would park it and I'd either get it started or it wouldn't start easily. But I did eventually get it started. And then this morning, when I was getting ready to go to work, um, no, actually, it did start this morning. But yesterday, it wouldn't start. I called AAA. AAA came over, and I had to make some arrangements to take the hood off of the car, because anyway, it's attached onto the car in a very special, unique, innovative way, I consider. After there was a little fender bender that happened, and it caused the front end, well, the hood hatch to get a little weak. It either jammed totally or it didn't hold totally. And so anyway, at a certain point, because of various circumstances I'll tell you later, I have been innovative and attached the hood with metal strips, 4 metal strips. So it looks kind of classy. I've got these little handles on it too to make it easier to take on and off when I need to. But so anyway, I had to take it off, get it ready for AAA. AAA came over. They said the battery seems totally fine. There's nothing a problem with the battery. And so I've been dealing with cars and trucks and all kinds of vehicles for years. And years ago, even perhaps it had to do with a lawnmower tractor, getting the starter to work right. Sometimes you have to just bang on it. You have to take like a hammer and lightly tap on it, or you take the handle of a hammer and pound on it a little bit, which jostles the starter, and then it'll start. It'll turn over. So I had forgotten that, but the AAA guy, because he does this all the time, he said, "Okay, try to start it." He went and got it. He went and got a hammer, and luckily the starter was close enough to the top of the engine that he could just pound it on a couple times, and bam, the car started. So he said, "Okay, well, I think it's the starter. Nothing's wrong with the battery." And it was a AAA battery that I'd replaced about 2 years ago, following another event, which was one of my first online dates, live date that didn't go so well because I couldn't make it. Anyway, that's another story, and that's another video that I've already recorded. But so, anyway, so I've got this car. I did various errands today. I started it. I drove down to Berkeley. I had to go to the post office. So I wasn't sure if it would start, and I needed to get to my office. So at the post office, I just let it run. And I ran in to the P.O. box, opened it up, got my things out, went back to the car. Uh-oh, I forgot I had to mail a letter. So I took the letter, and I went to the P.O. box outside, slipped it in, and got back to my car. No problem. No even likelihood or opportunity that anyone would want to steal the car. It's running. I can't lock the doors when it's running, so, it's open. It's ready for someone to just step in if they wanted to. So next, I had to run some other errands. So I went and I've been culling through my patient files of the last 40 years, and I have to keep them for at least 5 to 7 years after I've last seen the person. And so I've been going through those, culling those out, and you can't just throw that information into the recycle bins and let the city of Richmond haul them away because it's confidential information. So I have to isolate those out. I have to go to a special shredding company, pay money to have it shredded. And so that's, I do that. I've seen a lot of other practitioners just throw it in the trash. Totally illegal, totally, but unethical. I don't work that way. So anyway, I had like 3 bags of this. So I went and did that. I had a old computer that I needed to recycle. So there's another recycle center right to that. So I drive in there into the paper place, still letting the car run. I hate doing that. I hate polluting the air. It fulfills all the standards of California laws for pollution. So I don't feel bad about that. But I try to conserve and just reduce the amount that I use my car. So I try to set up, specific a route to run my errands so that it's the shortest possible distance. Anyway, so I was there. I was letting the car run while I got the patient file information shredded. Then I went right next door, gave the big desktop kind of computer box to the recycle center, and then I went on to my clinic. Now at my clinic, I also decided, well, it needs to be run. I can't not afford to start it. So I left the car running in the driveway. It was, it's quiet. Left it there. Go in the clinic, get everything ready for a patient. Somehow our communication didn't work out that well, and that patient didn't even show up, even though we'd communicated a number of times. And I realized that, it's like a date. It's like anything. You have to be super clear. And if you've done it much, then you have to replicate. You have to do things 3 times at least. You have to make sure the other person knows what's going on 3 times. We had talked a little bit about the next visit, next Wednesday. And so this Wednesday got confused with next Wednesday, so the person didn't show up. And so I drive all the way down into town for that one client, and that client isn't there. But there were the other errands I had to run, post office, etc. So after that, I go and I decide that I'm going to go to my shop, auto shop, and see if they can take a look and change the starter, because I need the car. I drive all over the place, and chancing that I wouldn't be able to start it tomorrow morning, for example, when I drive down to Redwood City, would not be good. So I go there, and I talk to them. It's still running. I leave it running on the street, and they say that they can get the part, and they're willing to do it in the afternoon. So I say, great. So I leave them the keys. I shut the engine off, leave the keys. I walk. I take Bart back to my place. I get back just in time for my 2 p.m. TV show called Covert Affairs, CIA spy show, with a lot of love and other kinds of, emotional stuff going on in it. And then I take a little nap, and then by then, my mechanic calls and says yes, he was able to do the work, and then he said he would call me again when it was finished. So it was finished. It was around 4 o'clock. I looked up which public transportation would be easiest for me, so I wouldn't have to walk so far, because my hip's been bothering me. So I'd gone maybe a couple miles to get back home. The first time, walked to the BART station, took BART, Richmond Station, walked to home. This time I decided to take the bus, because the bus, even though it takes a little longer, it drops me off very close to the auto shop. So I take the bus. It shows up on time. I get there 5:30, go over. The car's parked out in front. No, on the street where it was before. Now, as I mentioned, my car, the car hood is fastened on with little metal straps, because I'd had this incident on the way to a date where my car hood, as I was driving about 60, 65 on the freeway, all of a sudden I'm looking out and the hood starts to rise. And there's usually a safety catch, but the safety catch caught briefly, and then it started rising more. And so I said, oh my God. So I started pulling over the side of the road. But in the meantime, the speed I was going and the wind catching underneath a hood that was not fastened down just bent it backwards, and whoop, like that. It sort of bent in half. And then it smashed the windshield on the driver's side. Well, it shattered. It didn't, no glass came in, but it hit it and it cracked it significantly. And then, but by that time, I pulled over to the side of the road on the very narrow shoulder. And I get out carefully, because, there's not that much space between me, my car, and the lane there. So I go around the car, have to inch between the safety fence. Not a lot of space there. And I'm on my way to a date. I'm on my way to a date, and the hood flies off. Almost flew off. It's still like leaning, held on by a little rubber tube. And if it hadn't been for that rubber tube that fed the windshield wiper spray, the hood probably would have gone over the top of my car onto the highway and created some accidents, I'm sure. So I was very, very fortunate of that little rubber hood, little rubber hose. So I got out. I put I have a nice roof rack, and I always carry around things I can carry stuff on the roof rack. So I lifted up the hood, turned it upside down, set it on the roof rack, and fastened it down, and went on to my date. So anyway, I'm checking it out. There's all these. It had ripped both hinges in half. They just snapped in half. and then the little struts that help to hold the hood up when you've opened it. They weren't working that well anyway, but those had both snapped off, and so that's why the whole hood came off, because the hinges and those struts had popped off. So anyway, I looked at it carefully. I took the hood off the car. I jumped up and down on the place because it had halfway folded in half. It hadn't folded in half, but it certainly creased across the middle of it. So eventually, after getting hinges and getting those struts, I was looking at the structure. I thought, well, I can do this, but I'm going to have to take the sides of the fenders off. That was going to be a lot of work. And if I was going to pay someone else, it's going to cost thousands of dollars. A 95 Camry station wagon, even in ideal condition, is not worth thousands of dollars in the Blue Book. So I'm not going to put that money into it. So I came up with, after like 2 weeks, an innovative way to fasten the hood down. So I keep track of when I last did oil. Every 1,000. Now I can do, I don't know, about 1,200 miles, 1,500 miles, and there's still oil. It's not too low. And then the other fluids. So when I do those oil changes, I go around, I unscrew, and there's a picture. I'm showing you a picture of the hood. I unscrew the brackets, the metal straps, and have to lift the hood off. I have to unlatch it. It does latch. And then set it to the side of the car, and then do the changes off. So anyway, so I take my car to the auto shop, and I say, okay, when you're doing this, you're going to have to unscrew these metal brackets. Well, they hadn't seen the car since this incident happened, but they were fine. I get back there, I look at it, they put the screws back exactly right, everything's latched tightly. I go, wow, did they even do anything? But they did. They changed the starter. And so I was talking with Tin about it, and I was saying how, I've been on this whole issue of image on dating and cars, and this is an auto shop guy, and then there's this other guy there who's a German mechanic who's super right wing. I mean, he loves Trump. I can't stand Trump, but anyway, I know that, so we're having a little conversation. So I'm talking to Tin about this, and I'm saying, yeah, I drive this car, and I've been on these first dates, and with one woman I was down on a first date, and we were both dressed really, really well, and we'd had the date. It was 2 or 3 hours. We clicked a little bit. I said, well, why don't we try to do something tomorrow? And she said, okay. And then we had a little farther to walk. So, well, her car was closer than mine. So I got in her car, brand new car, beautiful, just pristine, beautiful color, runs beautifully. I'd already told her the story about the hood blowing off and how it was fastened down, because I figure, I don't want it to be a total shock to someone when they see the car. But it is not impressive. She has an impressive car, very nice, beautiful, brand new. And it's a Mazda or something, so it's it's just mid-range. But so I'm in the car. She drops me off. We pull up behind my car. She gets out. We both talk a little bit. She sees my car. Now at this point, I didn't have the car top carrier on top, but I think she was actually, it was subtle. Her expression was subtle. I could tell though that she was quite impressed and thinking maybe I was like a rocket scientist in being able to come up with this way of fastening the hood onto the car with these little handles on it. So, it's sort of impressive. At least some people can recognize my innovative nature and the fact that I don't take it so seriously. The fact that my car looks, it's not a Mercedes. It's not a Maserati. Sorry, I can't afford one. It is what it is. But anyway, so I showed it to her, and then we talked a little bit more, and then we talked about seeing each other tomorrow, and then she drove off. And I'm thinking, she's thinking, it's first date, trying to decide how much extra energy we want to put into it. She had been, I actually had seen her on Plenty of Fish, and then we met in person the night before at a bar, and we danced, and there seemed to be some chemistry there, which is very interesting because she had not liked me back on Plenty of Fish, and she hadn't even contacted me back. So Plenty of Fish is an online dating site, and at that prior evening, the Friday night when we were dancing, I said, I think we talked about dating sites, and she said she was on Plenty of Fish, and I said, I think I liked you on that. Hang on. And so I went and I looked at my likes and I pulled them out, and she was one of them. And so I thought, well, that's good. I actually met a real person from the dating site, but it wasn't through the dating site. I thought, wow, this is pretty amazing. So anyway, after the next day, we went to the Japanese garden. We talked a little while. We went and got something to eat. And then I impressed her immensely by my innovative mechanical abilities, fixing the hood of my car. And then so I turned around, I started coming back. And then about an hour later, I get a phone call from her saying, well, she thought about it. She didn't think we were quite the right fit. And so let's forget about the next date. I go, okay. Well, I knew that my 95 Camry, if it was in perfect condition, would be, it's like a conversation piece. And when you're dating and trying to impress someone, it's impressive. It's impressive. And in my mind, 95 Camry station wagon, white, impressive. Now, I might be out of touch. With what's going on, with what women expect in the dating world. But it is what it is. So I'm telling this story to the guys at the auto shop, and they are busting up laughing. They think it's the most hilarious thing that that I had this, because they took it apart. They in order to put the starter, they were laughing so hard. It was just hilarious. They thought it was the funniest dating story that they'd ever heard. I said, yeah, I leave it that way to impress women, and they thought that was hilarious. So we're talking, and then I go back into the car, and I'm getting ready to leave, and I see this little item on the dashboard. And it's this thing called Axe. There were two little disc things in here. It's brand new. And I thought, oh, maybe they put that on. Maybe they were going to use it for something else, and it was just a mistake. So I took it out, and I went back over to them. I said, did you leave this there on purpose, or is it a mistake? And so what it is, it's one of those air fresheners. And it's dark chocolate smell. And it's called Dark Temptation. Well, I had not told them about this dating story. And so I go over there, and I'm laughing my ass off because I think it is pretty hilarious. a 95 Camry station wagon. Let's see, that's 30 years old. We've had all this rain and stuff. The inside of the car, I don't notice that it smells that bad. The residue from the Trader Joe's peanut butter covered pretzels, and the Starbucks mocha coffee open bottles, maybe the popcorn, the Trader Joe's organic, cooked in virgin olive oil popcorn that I have eaten. Maybe have a few of those around, and then I also take roses off my rose bush, and I put them in my car and let them turn into potpourri. So all those blended smells together, maybe, I don't know. I thought it was a nice gesture. I thought it was hilarious that intuitively they knew that I needed to do something different in my car for my dates. So anyways, it's called Dark Temptation, and so I'm going to try it out. See if the, I love the name. Dark Temptation. Dark chocolate odors in my car. Anyway, that's just an update on my dating life. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get a little laugh out of it, because all I can do is laugh about it. I'm frustrated. Not always so happy that I don't feel like I've been a dating success. I am still alone after, I don't know, 3.5 years, almost 4. That's frustrating for me, but I persist, and hopefully you'll find some of my stories to be humorous, and that's the best way I can do it. You know, I can't make up these stories. Human beings and life is so much more crazy than I could make up. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I look forward to being able to share my next dating story with you. Take care.